Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Kelly Levine, the Closet Coach. My channel is to help professional organizers, interior designers, other business people that want to learn how to design custom closets like the pros do, learn how to do that. Also for DIYers, so that you know the things to look for that maybe aren't so intuitive before you go out and spend a lot of money on some, a system or hire someone and end up with something that isn't quite what you thought it was going to be. So today we're going to talk about mudrooms. This is a new topic, and I've got four different things that I want to talk about. So I'm not just going to be designing one specific mudroom, but again, talking about some things to look out for, some things that you might want to keep in mind if you're thinking about doing a system for your mudroom. All right, so as always, I'm going to, hold on a second here. Go back. Okay, if this is your first time here, I've got 4 videos that are labeled Start Here. Those cover how to measure, how to draw, how to do an inventory, and then the basics about how to design. I suggest going and watching those 4 videos first if this ends up being confusing, because of the way that I draw, and you'll understand a lot more. So go back, they're labeled Start Here, they're the 1 through 4. All right, so now that that's out of the way, let's share the screen. Okay, so I've got some pictures here of some mudroom closets. I've got, actually they're not kind of in order, but I've got 2 reach in. This is a reach in, this is a reach in, this is a walk in, this is a walk in. So a reach in closet would be your type of, long, narrow closet that typically either has sliding doors. Not a fan of sliding doors. We'll talk about that on another video. French doors, like this one right here, you can see this one's got French doors. So you typically get a nice, big, wide open space. And then this one has bifold doors, which are nice too if you've got a space. Oh, you know what? Maybe this one might be French doors as well. But there are lots of these types of closets that have bifold doors, and those can work out really well if you've got a space that doesn't have a lot of room outside of the closet, because the French doors, they've got to have a big radius to open up. So a couple of the things for reach-in closets, let's talk about these 2 first. I always talk about, when I'm talking about closet design, using the inventory. In other words, figuring out what you want to store in there and what your priority is. So I'm just going to tell you, if you haven't already guessed, that this person's priority was shoes. They actually had another coat closet that was in another part of the house, and she really wanted to be able to have quite a few pairs of shoes in here. And so even though you can see it looks like these are, a little bit tight, they were fine with that. And this isn't, this is kind of an overflow closet as far as the coats go. So when I was designing this, you know what? Let's talk about this one. This one also had a nice large opening. So in thinking through their priority, this is an older couple. They wanted the access to their coats to be very easy. Sometimes when you've got them going into the corners, not in these cases because these closets had nice wide doors, but sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult to get the coats if they're on the sides. Most of the time that is the way it's done though, and I'll explain that later. But they decided they wanted their shoes to the side. So as long as you've got an opening that's nice and wide, you can do that. Another priority in this closet was space for a vacuum cleaner. So they did have some long coats that could fit here, or mid coats. But if they put those mid coats in there, they would still have room to have the vacuum below. Okay, so again, this is all comes into the inventory and the measurements. So let's take a look at what those closets would potentially look like drawn out. This is the plan looking down of a reach-in closet. And typically they're 24, 25 inches deep. Sometimes you'll run across some that are only 22. I've done one that was as little as 19, which is somewhat difficult. I wouldn't recommend probably a store-bought system for that, because as using a custom closet company, we were able to pull that rod back a little bit so that, you know, even in 19 inches, the coats would fit in. But let's talk about these. Okay, so in the first picture, you could see that they wanted to do shoes. And you know what? Let's grab that picture. Let's see. Oops. No, that's not what I want to do. Why will it not let me copy it? Oh, I know. Oops, one more page. All right, so there we've got that picture. Let's get it smaller here. All right, so you can see that I had a small long hanging section on the left side here. So we've got, I believe that was about 15 inches. And then we've got the shoes. And I can tell, because I know that with women, to get 4 pair across, and you can kind of see that she's got them turned a little bit different ways. But when they're dress shoes, typically it's going to be 7 inches or so. So I'm pretty sure that this center section is about 28 inches or so. All right, so I will put that there. And I more than and I did those. I always do the center section is 14 inches deep, so that whatever, you know, if you're buying baskets and things like that and putting that on those shelves, they're going to be sitting all the way on the shelf. All right, and then the 2 side ones would be 12 inches deep, because again, you're going back into these corners, so you don't need that deeper, and it can actually cause some problems. So again, this was a nice big wide open space, so we didn't have to worry about the doors. That's why I was able to push this long section over. If you're somebody that likes everything to be symmetrical, in other words, if it would bother you that the shoes are not centered on the opening, then you've got to think that through. For functionality purposes, it really goes more by what the inventory is, which is what I'm going to tell you to do, and just get over the fact that it's not centered. You'll never probably think about it again if it's functioning well for you. So that's how that one looked that way. If we draw it out, and this is about, you know, an 84-inch closet, you know, a 7-foot closet is really a typical closet size. And you can do that, you know, if you're doing a custom closet, you can scooch it up a little bit higher than just your typical 84. But you, for a reach-in closet, for a coat closet, you are going to want to, if you can, scooch that up, or for sure do not buy something that isn't going to allow you to have, I'd take this up to 87 if you can. Don't buy something that isn't going to be 42 inches, because coats are longer and bulkier. You can see there's not a lot of room under there. And I'm sure that I did bump this up. So you've got that. You've got your 28-inch section for shoes, and then you've got the leftover, the balance for coats. So let me just draw this in quick here. Oops. And you can, I don't know, sorry, these pictures aren't that good, but you can see that we've got some boots below. So I would have left, you know, more than likely 18 inches there. And then copied those up. I've got these, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I don't have enough in there yet. You can tell on this that she's got her husband's shoes are on the top so they can be closer together. And then we've got our double hanging over on this side. So let's say we had an 84-inch closet. We've got 14-inch deep panels here and 12 on the side. So we've got 84, and then we've got 3. Sorry, my pickiness won't let me leave that. We've got 4 pieces of material that we've got to subtract. So we've got 84 minus 3 inches. So we're working with 81 inches total. And then we're subtracting 15 and 28. So we've got about 38 inches here for coats. So, sorry, I hit the do not disturb. Why is this happening? Sorry, guys, I hit do not disturb on everything. Oh, I know why. That was my daughter, so I bet I have it so that she can get through. Anyway, sorry about that. So if we do the closet math here, in this original closet, if it would have been like most closets are, and it had one rod across the back, you would have had 84 inches of hanging. And if we consider a space to be 12 inches, you would have had one shelf at the top divided by 12. So you would have had 12 spaces for, let's just say, a basket or, you know, a 12-inch module. In other words, you'd have 12 spaces or 7 spaces up here that were 12 inches wide. That's just an easy way to think about spaces. All right. So if you think about shoes, 84 inches divided by, let's say his shoes are 9 inches is what we gave here. You know, we'd have 9 pair of shoes, 9 or 10 pair of shoes neatly on the top of there. So what we have right now is we've got for our hanging, we've got 38 times 2 is 76. And then we've got 15 long for a total of 91 inches. So we've already got more hanging than we would have had in the entire closet altogether. Then we've got space. We've got 2 shelves on the side here. And we've still got the top. So we've got 7, 8, 9 spaces. Oops. Plus, we've got shoes, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spaces there. For him, that's only 3. So we've got 27. For her, it's 4 to 36 pairs of shoes. Okay, so a ton more space as far as what her priority was. So I hope that closet math makes sense for you so you can see how much more you're actually able to get into this space. The other closet that I had, get rid of that. The other closet that I showed here is very similar. So I'm not going to draw that one out, but it's very similar except for that the shoes were moved to the side, and then it's a little bit bigger space for long coats and the vacuum and things like that. Okay, but again, this is all based on their inventory. So this, really works well for them. I just wanted to show you a contrast of, basically the same closet done a couple different ways based on priority. One thing I do want to point out about this, though, is that if you've got a closet that is more like this with a deeper side here, and if you've got bifold doors, lots of times they'll use the 4-foot doors, and then you would have, 15, 16 inches on the side. Either way, you're probably not going to want to do, quite as big. You probably are going to want to center that center section when you've got that kind of thing going on, because you need to be mindful of this dimension right here. So sometimes, depending on that opening from the bifold doors, this section might get smaller, maybe 22 inches or 18 inches. You don't want to get this piece too close to that edge. Otherwise, you're going to have a really hard time getting in there. And because of that same thing, you probably don't want to put your shoes on this side here. Because remember, if coats are hanging out, they're hanging out 22 inches. And so it's going to make it very difficult to see in here because of those coats hanging out. So in those cases, when you've got the bifold doors and your door opening isn't really super nice and wide, almost always the shoes or the shelves or the drawers go in the center. Okay. And then your hanging can go on either side. Typically, one side would be a double hanging and the other side would be a single, like this. It's just that they would be more equally spaced because your doors are going to be, way in here more. You can see how that wouldn't work out very well. All right, so that's some basics on mudroom closets that are reach-in style. When we're talking about walk-in closets, there's a couple things that I wanted to point out. When I'm doing these designs for you guys, I just want to say, I don't know if I've ever said this before, but there's about 1,000 ways to skin this cat. The things that I draw out are not always the best way because number one, you've got to consider your inventory. But number two, some of the things that I'm trying to show you are things to consider that are going to make the space feel nicer. In other words, as you walk in, it's going to be nicer than it would be if you had, done a design just willy-nilly and not really thought through how things are going to look in the room. So with these two examples, I really want to talk about this. A lot of walk-in mudroom closets are narrow, and you can see kind of both of these, the way they're done, are narrow. This one's a little bit odd shape, but this is a long, narrow closet. And so you've got a door right here. What happens when you've got that door there, and anybody who still has their builder grade, wire shelving hung is going to know what I mean when I say that if you've got a wire hanging here and you've got your coats hanging out to here, sometimes your door is actually going to hit those coats. Okay, so this is the first thing that I want to point out. When you've got a long, narrow closet, almost always you're going to want to start out with some shoe shelves or some kind of shelving in the beginning so that you can get in the space before you're hit with all these coats. Okay, so in this instance, I did put, and the other thing is that, the way that you know this is that this is only about, sometimes it's 16, sometimes it's 12, sometimes it's 18, whatever. If it's not over 24, your coats are going to hit the door, because coats are bulky and your arms of your coats are going to hang out, and as you're shutting that door, you're going to hit your coats every time. So put shelving in the beginning if you've got a mudroom closet that's shaped similar to this one. This one, I've got about 60 inches in the back. So just keep that in mind. And so, oops, I don't want pink there. We're going to start off with some shoe shelves here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is nice and big. So we're going to go 30 inches. And then we're definitely going to, oh, I know. She wanted storage for her cleaning supplies and things like that to be back here. So I wouldn't always do it that way, but she definitely wanted that stuff separated from the coats. So that shelf unit is in the back, and that's nice and deep so that she can get all her cleaning stuff on there. And then we've got some hanging in the back there as well. Actually, I probably, if you're using, a custom closet company, again, have them do it deeper. If you're buying these, you may not, if you're buying box store sets, you may not have the ability to do that, but use that. So then you've got a deeper shelf at the top for storing things. And then we're going to leave our typical 27 inches at the back here so that there's room for the coats to hang. And we've got 2 sections here. More than likely, those are, whoops. Since this is a narrower space, I'm pretty sure I would have kept that to 14 inches there. But in mudrooms, I do try to go, deeper if I can, because they're typically used for a lot of storage. So, so here's what we ended up with. We've got shoes, we've got double hanging, we've got some more hanging. Actually, this one we've got some baskets here, and this rod was lower for kids' coats. It's not so low that it will hang on the ground when the kids are bigger, but it's a nice height for kids to be able to reach their own coats. And then you can see the standard, you know, which again, I do bump that up a little bit for coats if possible. So that's why that one's a little bit higher. And then we've got the long hanging back here, and then the nice shelves above, space above that as well. This was a taller ceiling. You can tell that because there's actually a shelf above the double hanging. So this was 108 inch. So lots of room for shoes. Let me see how quickly I can kind of sort of draw this out here. In order to make the line straight, I have to pause at the end of my line. That's why you'll see me pausing here. See if this is faster. That. All right. And then we've got our long side here. That's our panel on the end here. I'm not making these dimensions absolutely perfect, but we're pretty close. See how many shelves I got in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The reason that those shelves at the bottom were spaced farther apart is because we live in Minnesota and there would have been probably 2 rows for boots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's close. And then okay, and then we've got While I'm doing this, you guys in the comments, let me know what your questions are, what kind of closet you're looking at. I'm happy to do, some videos if there's something that you're struggling with. So let's just take a look at this here. We've got 60 inches, and then we used 3 pieces of material on the back. So we've got 2¼ inches taken off, and then I'm going to say that it was 30 inches on the one side. And that would make this 27¾ inches. Then on the 105-inch side, we've subtracting 27 inches for the coats to hang out. And that is right here. Got coats hanging out there. So we've got 78 inches, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of material again. So take 3 inches away. We've got 75 inches left. So let's do this. 75. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I would have done. This was 27 inches. This is 24. I know that because the baskets take a 24-inch section. And then in this case, that would have left us with exactly 24 inches at the end. Okay. And 27 inches is a nice dimension, typically for 3 pairs of men's dress shoes. So that's a pretty typical dimension for a custom job. All right, so let's take a look at some closet math here. If we had a rod, which she did, one rod all the way around this closet, here and here, you'd have 60 inches on one side, you'd have 105 on the other, and then you've got to subtract 27 inches, or I usually do 24. Got to subtract 24 inches because you can't use it both sides. All right, so you would have had 141 inches of hanging. And if we take that 141 divided by 12, the top shelf, there would have been basically 12 spaces. No designated shoes or anything like that. So let's find out what we have now. So for our short hanging, we've got 24 times 3. So we've got 72 inches of short hanging. I'll put it over here, make that a little bit neater. And then we've got basically 28 inches of long. So we've got 100 inches. All right. So you can see that there's less than if she had a rod across this whole thing. But in reality, the 100 inches was probably more than what she needed. I always do an inventory, so I know that it would have been what she needed. And then that allowed her to get all of this other stuff in there that she wouldn't have been able to get in before. Because now we've got, I'm just going to count these 30-inch as 2 spaces. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I won't count the floor. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34. Now we've got 34 spaces. We've also got 2 baskets. And we've got 10 spaces for shoes and boots. So we potentially have, 30 to 36, 30 to 34 pairs. If you've got kids, you've got room for a lot more than that. Whoops. 4 times 4 would have been 40. 30 to 40 pairs of shoes. Okay, so a lot more. This right here is so key because when I go into these spaces in people's homes, it's usually where they're trying to, put some of their bulk items. They're trying to put gloves and mittens. They're trying to put, um, you know, extra things if they don't have a pantry, maybe some of their pantry items or things like that. And it always is, lots of things for summer, things for winter, all kinds of storage things that really need to go in these types of closets. And that is just not served at all by, just having a rod in there. All right, so that's the closet math on that. I'm not going to go over this whole next, you know, um, room, but I do want to point out something. When you're looking at doing a mudroom, and you can see here, the door is here and it opens into the closet. What you really have to be mindful of is that if you end up having um, hanging in this back here, which in this case made, which in this case made total sense because of this goofy door, we decided to put the shoes here. We actually had to like leave a little bit of space too so that the door could shut. But what I really want to point out here is that remember the coats are going to be hanging out here. So sometimes if the room is shorter, what you end up with is the coats are going to hit the door. I'm sorry, the door is going to hit the coats. You really want to make sure that you've got enough space for the door to open and not open into the coats. So that's the one thing that I wanted to point out about rooms like this that open that way. All right. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Let me know what you're struggling with. If you are a professional organizer, a designer, a cabinet shop owner who wants to do more custom closets for your clients, hit the link below. Check out what I've got going on for the custom closet course, where I teach you not only how to draw them, really design them, but also how to sell them, how to talk to your customers about closets. If you are a homeowner and you have some questions, or you just want a design done because this is just way too overwhelming for you, there's a link below for that as well. Otherwise, please let me know in the comments what you guys are working on, what you'd like to see for the next video, and we will catch you again later. Thanks so much for joining me, and take care.